वेलकम बैक आफ्टर ब्रेक। लेते हैं कॉल। जी फरमाइए। हेलो
हेलो
जी फरमाइए।
अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
वालेकुम सलाम जी।
Okay, I'll speak in English, brother.
या प्लीज गो अहेड, इवन बेटर।
Okay, I've got a restaurant here in Leicester. My name is Osman.
राइट।
Yeah, I'm having problem with the chef, a lot of chefs. We have got a family business and I've got employees, about 7 8 employees.
राइट।
But the problem is I can't find the right chef.
ओके।
Right employee chefs from here. I'm originally from Malawi. And I've got a lot of Malawian customers here in Leicester who prefer
राइट।
Malawian style of food.
राइट।
Now here, a lot of them are trying to get them to giving them training and everything. They talk for 2 3 weeks and they go away somewhere else. It's not a permanent they want they're staying. They move around a lot.
राइट।
And I thought of getting chef from Malawi or India. How can you help me out?
Okay, so you just specialist in Malawi and Indian foods, or
Yes, Malawi and Indian food, yes.
and you have the restaurant, not a takeaway, don't you?
No, I've got a restaurant in Leicester.
Okay, right.
And how many people does the restaurant employ?
Do you have
I've got 7 to 8 people at the moment.
Right.
Okay.
You'll have to have...
Nearly they're all family members, but I want to expand my business more. So I thought of employing...
Okay, I think that Nabila will answer this question. You can just keep on live on air, please.
Well, as I said at the beginning, when you have a business that employs less than 20 employees, you have to be supported by the Department of Trade and Industry in order to employ somebody from overseas. Now, there is no reason why you shouldn't apply to the Department of Trade and Industry to get a certificate that would allow you to become a sponsor. So in order for you to then apply to the Secretary of State for the Home Department to become a sponsor to overseas employee. In the case of a restaurant, it doesn't fall in the shortage of occupation category, unfortunately, in which case you'd have to fulfill the resident market test. And that involves you showing that you've applied, you've advertised rather, the job in the local newspapers or relevant advertising places for such vacancies, and you've not been able to get the requisite, the required employee. For instance, in this particular case, you want somebody to work in your Malawian restaurant. You want a chef with the specialist skills to in the cuisine, and that may be something that you can show that you can't find the relevant person here, in which case you'll be able to sponsor somebody from Malawi.
My friend, I think I just make it short for your understanding. If anybody want to make a sponsor license, he need to be fulfill the just 3 main requirements. Number one, he can't find any employee within the UK for specific role and the jobs. And the second thing, he is in a position to pay the people who just come from the abroad. And the third thing is, you need to do the labor market test. For the labor market test, again, as Nabila mentioned or explained, you have to go to the labor market test for at least for 28 days. In that, you need to use 2 different methods. One is you need to be advertised on the job center plus, which is mandatory, and on top of the mandatory, you can apply on advertise on the newspaper or any other means. And that proof of the labor market test, you have to attach with the labor, your sponsor license applications, and then the Home Office normally takes just only 28 days to decide. So once you grant a sponsor license, then you can issue the case letter, and that case letter you can send to your person who want to come in the UK. So it means the sponsor license belong to you and your business. It not means anybody can come. When any person making the application to come in the UK, he need to fulfill their requirements. He have the requirements means he need to be sure he have the experience in the same field, same role for at least for the 5 years, or he have the degree equivalent to the UK graduations, and he have experience on that. Or third is he is capable to be moved in the UK and work with you, and the third is required is English. So if they fill all this requirement, he can come in the UK. But ideally, because this is we just on a live show just for the advice, it's better you can go to the solicitor and see someone who know this, and he can make the application on your behalf, and then you can get the positive result. Thanks for your call. Let's have next call. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
You are on here, my friend. What's your question now?
हेलो अस्सलाम वालेकुम जी
जी वालेकुम अस्सलाम.
सर जी मैं हुसैन बोल रहा हूँ मेरे दोस्त वाले छोटे छोटे
प्लीज.
तो एक तो ये है कि मुझे यहाँ पे 14 साल हो गए हैं.
राइट.
मैंने सैलम किया हुआ था, उस सैलम को अभी 1 साल हो गया, वो पेंडिंग है.
राइट.
तो मेरा केस चल रहा है, तो मैं स्टिल ट्रेनिंग पे जा रहा हूँ.
राइट.
दूसरा सवाल ये है कि मेरी बेटी
आपकी आवाज बहुत कम होगी. सेकंड क्वेश्चन क्या आपका जी? व्हाट इज योर सेकंड क्वेश्चन?
मेरी बेटी
Oh, we've lost him.
कंट्रोल से रिक्वेस्ट है प्लीज आवाज ऊंची करिए, पता करें क्या इनका इशू है. सेकंड आई थिंक क्वेश्चन ड्रॉप हो गया. आई थिंक जो फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन है कि आप यहाँ पे असाइलम क्लेम किया है, 14 साल हो गए हैं. लॉ ये कहता है कि या तो आपको रिफ्यूजी स्टेटस मिल जाए तो फिर आपको यहाँ पे आपका स्टेटस बनेगा, या फिर कोई लीगल या इलीगल किसी भी सूरत में 20 ईयर्स पूरे कर लेंगे तो तब आप किसी एप्लीकेशन करने के काबिल होंगे. लेकिन इसके साथ साथ अगर आप फैमिली के साथ हैं, बच्चा यहाँ पैदा होता है जो आपके साथ आया था, और आपने यहाँ पे 7 साल गुजार लिए बच्चों के साथ, और उनकी एज 18 ईयर से कम है, तो तब भी आप उनके अंडर द 7 ईयर्स चाइल्ड कंसेशन पॉलिसी आप अप्लाई कर सकते हैं. तो लेते हैं नेक्स्ट कॉल. जी फरमाइए. हेलो. हेलो. I think control से please, I think we just do something.
Well, that was an interesting question.
Hello.
That was an interesting.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear you? How may I help you, my friend?
I'm going to apply for extension of FLRFP on partner base.
Right.
I wanted to know what exactly documents would I need to send, like supporting documents. Second question I've got to ask, they say here evidence to support your claim that you and your partner cannot live together outside of UK. What could be that?
Are you under the 5 years route or the 10 years route?
10 years.
10 years. Okay,
Yeah.
so you're applying the extension, right? Ms. Nabila, please.
Wow.
I've got like 2.5 year FLRFP, and that's the extension.
This
I
is
need
your
to
first
apply
extension
now.
or second extension, my friend?
I already have 2.5 year one, and then it's the first extension, so I'm going to extend it.
Okay, I think Mr. Nabila is here just to be explain in the law, if you please.
I think we can both answer this question, can't we? Riaz and I will both answer this question for
Please,
you.
please.
I understand that you've been in the United Kingdom. You've successfully been here on a spousal visa or a partner's visa for 2.5 years. And your main query, seems to me, from the question you've asked, is that you're asking what is it that you have to show in order to say you can't live together as man and wife overseas in your home country. Am I right?
Yep.
And that involves you producing evidence regarding your wife's family life in the United Kingdom. Presumably she's born and brought up here, or has spent a considerable length of time because she is obviously a settled person. And therefore she would have developed a number of ties that are significant to her, not only her family, her friends, a possible occupation that she has, and these are essential parts of her life that she needs to evidence through documents. Then there is the issue as to why it is that she can't live overseas. Now, in the case of certain countries, women often say, well, there is a cultural reason why I cannot live in a certain country. There may be language barriers, particularly if you're born and brought up here.
I think in this case, I believe, this case is he granted the visa might be under the due to his wife, the British national, or the child is here for 7 years. He got a 10 years route on the, that's why he's just talking about. But my friend, I think the same thing is when you make the application, you just need to be established one thing which is important. you've not done anything wrong in the last 2.5 years. The rest of you've been living here, you have a documentations, all utility bills, any bank statements, all the children's education certificates, just attach these general applications. It should be a problem for you because you don't need to be established at this stage. Okay, you can't settle in a home country, but you need to be established in the last 2.5 years. You establish your life in the UK and your circumstances not change. So that's why I think the application will be granted in future as well. Ms. Nabila, this is I think we're going to be discussing the next topic for the 7-year child concession.
Yes.
I believe we'll talk on that in the details.
Yes.
But the journal, because when you initial application granted on the basis of the FLRFP, on the basis of the child or the wife is a British national, then they just only need to be talk about the UK life, not the abroad life, don't they?
Well, he was actually asking Riaz, and he has to answer the question. There was a question put to him in the application form, and it's in relation to that. So the evidence that you have regarding ties, in this particular case, of course, he was benefit for the fact that he entered out on a spousal visa from the sounds of it. I don't think he had a child that had been resident here for 7 years. So having entered on a spousal visa, he's applying for an extension under the 10-year partnership route. And there may be a number of personal reasons why he might be doing it under that route rather than any other route. Now, that being the case, it's a slightly different scenario. You were saying, well, he should be successful, provided he meets all the conditions. I think the question was, though, and I agree that if he's been granted leave in the first place, he's likely to get an extension, provided there hasn't been any breaches on his part on the immigration conditions that were placed upon him. But the fact is, he was asking for a specific question that was in relation to a specific question that was asked in the form. And this is actually quite relevant to those who make Article 8 applications. Often the biggest hurdle for them now, because of the way that the rules are set, is to show why the couple, not only why the couple have ties in the United Kingdom, but also why they can't live in the foreign-born partner's home country. And there could be language reasons. For instance, we know that there are a number of cases that guide us. For instance, somebody who is going to return to a Middle Eastern country, doesn't speak Arabic, and would encounter great difficulties in living in that society, not only because of language,
but I think this is the most likely will be considered if the child
reasons.
is involved. But if the husband and wife, they came from the same country, they can speak English again and their own language, and they can resettle again. But mostly for the extension, as my experience, I saw when you grant the initial application for the extension, they only focusing, okay, how you establish your life in 2.5 years or last grant of leave. And the second, breach any immigration rules and the condition upon is visa. That's the main thing. But the rest of all the documents you have to attach.
Yes, I know. But we're talking about the merits of his application, and rather than answering all the questions the Secretary of State asks.
I think control again saying the time is for break. Stay with us. मिलते हैं short stay के बाद. Thank you.